Hello from a city on the other side of the world. If you've been following me from Europe on the path of Columbus, we've landed here today. This is an ancient Mayan city, and I'm going to show you how the Mayans lived and the great civilizations flourished before Columbus. So welcome to this episode on the path of Columbus. Let's start exploring. The name they gave to this one after they discover it was Mouth of the Serpent. Well, for some reason climbing down that one was not as bad. Going up on that rope was a little scary because it was like fraying at the end, but coming down it was fine. Oh, there was a little baby! Well, this is definitely one of the coolest places I've ever been in my life. There's literally one other car in the parking lot, and I think they just left. It's a mixed cloudy and sunny day, which is perfect. Oh my gosh. So I'm in the middle of a jungle in another capital Mayan city. And this one is not even on most tourist maps. Wow, this is incredible. I'm so glad I came here. I'm in the capital city of the Rio Bec region in the Mayan lowlands in southern Mexico. The earliest architectural and archaeological remains were found here in about 500 BC. And the city went into decline about 1200 AD, which was a couple hundred years before Columbus even landed on the island of San Salvador, in what is now the Bahamas. But what was here before Columbus? I came here because I want to give you a sense of the majesty, of the brilliance, and the splendor of the civilization that existed in the New World before the Europeans got here. If you've been following along, this is a series that I'm calling The Path of Columbus. But there's nothing more important when talking about the Path of Columbus than getting an idea of what life was like here before him. So let's take a look in an almost undiscovered Mayan ruin. This is not anywhere near Cancun. I'm way off the beaten path, and I'm going to show you firsthand what you can still see in southern Mexico if you know what you're looking for, and give you an idea of what life was like before Christopher Columbus, so that we can understand the interaction of those two tectonic cultures. If you've been following along, you know that my name is Toby, and I'm on a mission to explore as much of the world as I can, trying to live the life of my dreams and sharing it with you so that I can inspire you to travel better and live better and to have a deeper understanding of the world. So I'm on a mission here, and I'm going to show you my successes and failures along the way. Today, let's dive into some prehistory on my Path of Columbus series. The place I'm at right now, it's called Becan, but you've never heard of it because it's still off the beaten path. You can still climb the pyramids, you can still come here and be here by yourself, which is what I'm doing today. If you've been watching my series, you probably saw that I went to the place where Columbus met Queen Isabella and King Ferdinand, the place from where he sailed. But now I want to show you what life was like before Christopher Columbus. He landed on a small island in the Bahamas, but before he even got here, there were majestic, splendorous, innovative, intelligent, creative cities in Mexico, in Peru, in Guatemala, and I'm in one of them. The great thing about travel is when you really dig deep, you can find places like this. So I'm going to share with you today what life was like in one of the most fantastic cities and areas in the New World, the Mayan lowlands. I have chills. I hope you do too. I'm the only car in the parking lot. I found out about this from another tourist because I went to see another site and she told me about it at dinner, that she loved it so much, and I'm so glad I met her. Don't even remember her name, but let's take a look at what this place has to offer. Let's go. Let's dive in to Mexico before Christopher Columbus. Wow, I feel like I paid $1 million to be able to film here. I didn't. I only paid $3. I mean, part of me just wants to stand here all day and breathe in the fresh air. This is the second largest lungs of the world outside of the Amazon rainforest. The second one is here in southern Mexico. Fresh, humid air. There's not going to be places like this 10 years from now. It'll be a lot more people. Let's talk about the Maya for a minute. So where I'm at right now was a capital Mayan city. It was the capital of the Rio Bec region. known for its distinct architecture. You can see some of that here. This city first had structures built in about 500 BC, and the city itself declined about 1200. So you have a period of over 1500 years where civilization thrived. Now, most of these Mayan cities, they've only uncovered part of the ruins, like the center, the ceremonial center. They were vast cities, and most of it is still completely uncovered, undiscovered, unexcavated. So there's things we don't even really know that we will in the future as archaeological processes continue. But what we do know is that these cities were all interconnected. They had little roads called sakbays. They were foot roads, so they didn't have animals to pull carts. Humans would carry other humans. But they were extremely advanced in mathematics and astronomy, which is evidenced by some of the observatories. They had the concept of zero before Europeans had the concept of zero. And they had an advanced writing system, which reminds a lot of people of Egypt because they're hieroglyphs. When I was growing up in school, they say Columbus discovered America. Well, you can't say that anymore because, you know, he didn't really discover it, depending on how you use the word, right? He discovered it for Europeans, which is a valid use of the word discovery. If I say I discovered a new restaurant, it means I discovered it for me. But what people don't like is the implication that he discovered it for humanity, because he definitely didn't. There were cities here, there were human beings here, there were highly intelligent, highly evolved, critically thinking, scientific people that were actually making a lot out of the limited resources that they had. They didn't have, if you look at Jared Diamond's Guns, Germs, and Steel and the books that come after that explaining it, they didn't have that east-west access in the trade of goods and grains. They had much more limited. They had mainly corn, not the same kind of wheat. They didn't have cows, they didn't have chickens, they didn't have animals that could pull things. So they had limitations, and what they were able to achieve, even with those limitations, is astounding. So I brought you here for two reasons. First of all, I want to show you how amazing Mexico is. Southern Mexico, where you can go to ruins and have them all yourself if you know where you're going. Check out the links in the description because I'll put some secrets in there. But it's so important to me to show this collision of cultures. Not that Columbus came to an empty, vast place of savages and natives. Now, Columbus landed on really small islands, so they didn't have cities and they didn't have pyramids. But further inland, where Columbus never quite made it to, places like this that Columbus never quite saw, those civilizations still had trade with the islands and the people that he met. So Columbus was coming into contact with a people that were heavily influenced, impacted by, culturally connected to these vast cities and metropolises. Or do you say metropolis? No, metropolises. Metropoli. Well, I'm going to get exploring this ruin. Come take a look at it with me while we talk a little bit more about what life was like for the Mayans before Christopher Columbus. I've never been to a Mayan ruin with a tunnel like this. An epic Instagram shot, if that's what you're into, but really an amazing experience. This Mayan ruin that I'm at right now, which was the capital city of the Rio Bec region, it's called Becan, and that actually means a form of a moat, because it was a Mayan city that had a moat all the way around it, which is very unique for Mayan cities. They believe that the moat, more than a defensive purpose, may have actually been to keep the elite separated from the population. So let's not labor under this idea that the Indians lived in egalitarian bliss before the Europeans came. And by the way, I know some people don't like to use the word Indian, but I've been to Native American reservations. They prefer their name of the actual tribe, such as the Dene in New Mexico. Anyway, the point being, the actual people often call themselves Indians, and they find it kind of fascinating how we jump around using different words trying to make ourselves feel better about the previous exploitation. So the Indians, or the natives, or the Mayan, who lived here, would not have lived equally with their rulers. So sometimes we have this idea, we see Native Americans on the prairie in the United States, we think of Pocahontas, we think of Sacagawea, and we think of smaller tribes, which actually sometimes were matriarchal, which means the lineage and the power was a lot of times with the female head of the family instead of the male head of the family. But that was generally in the areas that didn't have these hierarchical civilizations with pyramids. that was on the prairies and in the woods and in smaller tribes and groups. The places with these epic cities, just as we've seen in Asia and Europe, large cities generally mean social stratification. So the Europeans actually had something in common with the Mayan and the Incas and the Aztecs, in that they would have seen the world through a very socially stratified lens. The people groveling on the bottom would have been groveling outside the moat on the bottom, perhaps even sacrificed, much like happened in Europe. You know, they say we never sacrificed people, but if you look at Columbus, the time of Columbus was around the time of the Spanish Inquisition, where we're burning people alive for having the wrong religious beliefs. So how different is that than sacrificing someone for your religious beliefs in Mayan culture? It's still killing someone for religion. So a lot of similarities there. This is also a really cool spot to do a video about the world of Columbus meeting the world of the Mayan, Inca, Aztec civilizations, because this passageway looks like almost it could be in a medieval city in Europe. Now, Europe was just coming out of the medieval ages. At the time when Columbus set sail, this civilization was also in decline. This city probably would have already been ruins at the time that Columbus landed in the Bahamas. I saw one other couple here, a hippie couple from Europe. That's a really good sign, by the way. When it's just hippies that are here, it means it was hard to get to, not comfortable, and there's not going to be that many tourists anytime soon. So this tunnel here at Becan is one of the coolest experiences I've ever had at a Mayan site. I think I remember there's something you can walk through at Chichen Itza, but then again, remember, you're at Chichen Itza. It's like billions of tourists. Like, I feel like I rented this place for myself for the day. It's crazy. And I love that you can come through this little tunnel and get in the shade when the sun comes out. When the clouds come back over, I'm gonna head out and climb some of those amazing pyramids. I'd love to have gotten up even earlier and just really had more time for any Mayan site and to be able to see more sites, because there's actually a ton around this area. Remember, this is a city, so there's lots of ruins connected, but most of it's covered by forest, which is another amazing feature of the Mayan cities if you really go and get out into the jungle in the states like Campeche. The only time you have to be in the direct sun is when you're on the pyramids themselves, which you can't even climb at other places anyway, so such a bonus. Oh, it looks like the only other two people here just climbed that pyramid. Oh, wow. I really love this one. There's one right in front of me that's breathtaking, but there's one to the side that has these beautiful thick columns and a stela right in the middle. Wow, with the cloud as the backdrop. That looks incredible. It's hard to describe and to show on video. I'll do my best, but standing here looking up at it, those two peaks. That's one of the features of this architecture, by the way, is the two peaks, the Rio Bec style. It's unique to this region. So let's compare civilizations for a moment, since we're talking about the collision of two different cultures and two different worlds. Remember, Europe and Asia had been connected for centuries, millennia, was not connected with this new world. So there were pyramids in ancient Egypt, 2500 BC, for example. And let's talk about the difference between those and the Mayan pyramids. Well, they were bigger, both in height and in size of width at the base. The Egyptian pyramids were almost 500 feet, the tallest ones. The tallest ones here, such as Tikal and Calakmul, are somewhere around 50 meters, which is approaching 150 feet, something like that. So we're looking at less than half the size. But even though we're looking at a different size monument, the pyramids of Giza are very beautiful and striking in their symmetry. But these would have been colored. These would have been used for ceremonial purposes. People would have been up and down them. And I'm going to go up and down them. So let's climb it. And apparently an archaeologist fell down one of these pyramids here at Becan. I think it might have been this one. And she died. This is very sad. So you do have to be careful at the pyramids that still allow climbing, especially if you don't have a guide to tell you which ones are more dangerous. If I see a rope, I know I gotta really pay attention. And one of the scariest. I mean, it seems like a really, really long time ago, but was it really that long ago? The older you get, the faster time flies. These were people with thoughts and feelings just like us, probably fear as they climbed this, if there was a chance that they could be sacrificed, or just trying to make it day by day if they were part of that lower class. Now these two towers up here, oh, these are beautiful. These are really beautiful. Oh, wow. You can still see some of the red paint. Oh, I've never seen that before. Holy moly. That's amazing. Oh my gosh, the original red paint on the stucco or plaster, preserved after thousands of years. This city is incredible. Calakmul, also incredible, but Calakmul is on every European's map, so even though there's not a lot of people there, sideways is the trick. So once again, I'm kind of pinching myself. I'm loving this day, wandering around this ruin. I've seen a couple people, but it's been easy to avoid. And I think it's because it's just such a nice day. It's like kind of a mild climate. They originally predicted thunderstorms today, which I was really excited about because I want to see a thunderstorm at a pyramid, but then that passed and it's just clouds and should be mostly sun the rest of the afternoon. So it makes it hot, but still striking and beautiful. I would really like to just rent a car and spend, oh man, more days than this just wandering around these ruins, because it's like you never see the same river twice, right? It looks different under every weather condition and depending on the mood you're in. The problem is that there's no good place to stay out here, really. I mean, it's kind of bare bones, but just kind of put up with it, eat really basic food, and save your health food for when you get back. I saw another YouTube video about the back of this pyramid. Oh, wow. Look at the back of this baby. I'm gonna go down and around to get like a kind of a coming up shot. Wow, here's another thing that's so cool. So there's this little stairway here. This is a stairway going to nowhere because that's all unexcavated still. One really cool thing about this trip, I have not been bit, I don't think, by a single mosquito. I used a little bug spray yesterday at Calakmul, but today nothing, and I haven't been bit. Knock on stone. Okay, so here's a path going from this ruin straight into the jungle. There's a sign that says do not walk on this path, but it's definitely a path. I'm gonna walk on it like just a few feet, scare myself of jaguars and snakes, and then run around screaming backwards. Ooh, this is jungle. Yeah, that's jungle. Oh boy, it's a thin path. This, I mean, there wouldn't even have been a path for the early explorers. I'll get out of here before I get in trouble. I don't want to be on the bad side of this magnificent place. Okay, I know they're nocturnal, but I was crouching down in the jungle to get a good shot of that, and I just got the beep scared out of me because I heard something like really loud, kind of in the jungle. And I felt like since I'm crouching, I'm about to be jaguar meat. Oh God, that was really scary. I do not want to be jaguar meat. Dancing in a Mayan city. 101. Imagine the greatest city in the United States was in decline and became ruins, and then we uncovered it and went back and looked at it. Empire State Building, Statue of Liberty, like a ruined, crumbling hand going up. It's pretty much the equivalent, right? It's my last day in the jungle before heading to Mexico City. I love Mexico City, but this is my last chance for this air. I don't know what happened in here. I would love to know, but I can tell you one thing for sure. Well, actually, these poles look like something could have been hung from them. I don't know how long wood lasts, though. Maybe those are new. But one thing for sure, they were not as tall as my European ancestors because I have to duck to get in and out of here. Or maybe they just ducked. I don't think so, though. One thing I want to show you here, it's really cool, is that there is still red. Look at these red colors. Right here. Look at all that. Isn't that astounding? That was one of the principal colors that they used. If you look at the recreations of some of the Mayan ruins, you'll see that it's like a clay red, a beautiful, beautiful brown red color. I really love walking down these jungle trails. So if you've ever been to Chichen Itza, it's amazing. Of course, you got to go once in your life to Chichen Itza, but they don't even have any jungle trails. Everything's right out there in the sun. You got to go to these off the beaten path ruins to go on the jungle trails. And so keep in mind, you're not just getting to see a ruin, you're actually getting to go on an amazing jungle hike with really well manicured trails, not crowded at all. So it's a combined experience at Becan, at Calakmul, Koba. Some of you can climb, some of you can't, but you're gonna get architecture, archaeology, and amazing nature and the most beautiful trees you've ever seen. I remember once in Costa Rica, I went on like an hour-long hike just to get to a tree like that. Here, I've already seen 4 of them. And right there is an unexcavated pyramid. You can see the mound through the trees. So I'm following their prescribed route, even though I don't have a guide. And let's see what's next. Oh wow, this is also wonderful. A little bit different of a design. It's more of a stacked pyramid. Looks almost like a ziggurat from Babylonia. There were about 10 people I saw total in the park. Like, 5 couples, but they seem to be on the same route. So got a little bit ahead of them, and this is great. This is some great stuff. Let's get a look at this place. Oh. Wow, this city does not fail to disappoint. I've followed the route towards the end. I've already seen way more than I needed to see to love this place. And it took me to another plaza, a central plaza in between 4 different pyramids. All right, my friendly clouds are gone, but I still want to take you with me to see the views from the top of some of these pyramids, so I'm gonna have to bear this heat. My little northern blood is going to have to just be hot. I'm the only one in this plaza right now. Let's keep going. I can only imagine how the locals feel. They're used to this. They're used to this kind of beauty in their backyard. I guess kind of in a way of how I was used to the beauty of having a Lake Huron, right where I grew up. And now when I go back, I'm like, wow, this is stunning. But this is something else. Look at this. Not even a well-visited archaeological site. You can basically dance around by yourself in the ball court. As you were the loser, hopefully, so you don't have to die. Well, they used to hit the ball with their hips. Boom! That's what they would do. They would hit it with their hips, and it would go through a hoop. If they finally got it through the hoop, that's how they got a point. I think it was a point, or either that or that was when they won. Yeah, I've been to a couple other ball courts, but I've never been to a ball court by myself. You can look up and see how the elite would have watched you from the box seats. It's so amazing. So if you like this kind of video, please be sure to click subscribe so that you're amongst the first to know when the next one's coming out. Whether it's my series of the jewels of the Yucatan Peninsula that I just did, or it's the Path of Columbus, which you're watching right now, doing another series on the history of Europe, all kinds of really cool travel stuff, as me, Toby Nomad, travel to different places around the world, trying to achieve the life of my dreams, trying to make it interesting for you, helping you travel better and live better along the way, and just share some of my amazing life and amazing experiences, as well as my failures. But hopefully you don't see too many of those failures today, because today is a huge success. Huge. Huge. This one's got a pretty scraggly rope. I hope it suits me. Here we go. I have never climbed a steep pyramid with a rope, with a selfie stick in cinematic. Oh! Someone actually died. An archaeologist actually died climbing one of these pyramids or working on it. They are very steep. They're steeper than Calakmul, so make sure your shoelaces are tied. Oh man, is it beautiful when you get up here though. God, look at this. Holy crap, oh my God. Look at the background. You can see the other one. Another one back there. I'm on top of the first pyramid that you see when you come into the right in the plaza with the tall one. You can climb that one too. You can see somebody climbing. I'm climbing around the back of these pyramids. This one, like, you climb around to the back and you think it's going to wrap all the way around, but it doesn't. You're stuck in a little room back here and you wonder, was this someone's bedroom? It was definitely a private area. All these chambers in the back, they don't connect to the front. To get to the front, you got to come around to the middle, and it seems almost like a pageant, like this. And then you walk this way. Hopefully you don't trip walking backwards. And so maybe if you were the priest, you would come out like this, and you would be overlooking the city, and the crowd would roar, and somebody would probably die. The only way I'm going to avoid a complete farmer's tan after this trip is to take a few shots up here and get some Mayan sun. So right behind me is the tallest pyramid here. Whoa, that's fun to climb, but really scary. But this is a really cool one because there's beautiful columns on top and the view of the tallest one. As these pyramids were probably primarily ceremonial, it makes sense that they're very steep. I mean, this is not convenient to walk up and down, but it's convenient to give people a sense of awe at your power and might. These columns must have looked majestic and grand. Well, for some reason climbing down that one was not as bad. Going up on that rope was a little scary because it was like fraying at the end, but coming down it was fine. We're gonna try to squeeze in one more ruin today. I don't know if I'm gonna make it. It's already 3:15. They all close at 5. I think it's like 20 minutes away, but it's always hard to tell because the information online is never that accurate. They tell you 20 minutes and it's 45. They tell you 45 and it's 10. Anyway, I'm gonna try for one more. So this is definitely one of the most beautiful, most serene places that I've ever been. It's the most climbable and it's really spectacular. It's got really tall pyramids, these gorgeous trees. I really love it here. So even though these places were places of stunning beauty, awe-inspiring, there likely were sacrifices at cities like Calakmul and probably even Becan. They believed that the bloodletting was necessary in order to appease the gods. So it would not have been a peaceful place back then. Might be better to see it right now. Definitely probably better to be on top of the temple now than then. Plants here are amazing. The climate is warm year-round, rain on and off year-round, although some seasons are drier than others. A special plant that comes from this area is cacao, which we make chocolate from. It was cultivated by the Mayans. It actually previously may have been cultivated, I believe, somewhere in the northern part of South America, but it was definitely a food and a crop of the Americas. So something that would not have existed for Columbus until he got here. Whether he tasted it, we don't know, but eventually it got back to Europe. So as I've said before, these cities were all interconnected. They were not isolated. They had wars with each other, but not only did they fight with each other, but when they weren't fighting, they were extremely interconnected, sharing ideas, sharing crops, sharing goods, sharing merchandise, probably sharing slaves and people. I wonder if the average Mayan probably didn't live in the heart of the city. They were kept out by the moat. So the average Mayan probably lived a little bit more in touch with the nature, and to come to a place like this would be like someone from Michigan going to Times Square. I'm now on top of the best part. It's not the tallest pyramid, but in my opinion, it's the most beautiful. You can see the ball court from up here. From here, this is where the priests would have watched people battle it out to the death. Juego de pelota. This is one of my favorite doors I've ever been to in my life. I'm on top of a Mayan pyramid. Basically, this would have been probably a door that a priest or a noble or a king would have came out of to impress everybody. Remember, most of the peasants, some of them might not have ever even been to the city. Miles and miles and miles of villages, and most peasants living in mud and thatch huts. Long ways away. No cars, no trains, not even any animals to pull carts. Anywhere you would have wanted to go, you would have had to have walked. So all of this would have blown your mind. And imagine if they timed it just right with the moon or the sun. Incroyable. And this is how we say goodbye, but only for now. Check this out. Here I am at the mouth of the serpent, they call it. Look at that. Oh. It's one of the coolest entrances to any Mayan temple. It's at Chicanna. Okay, let's admit it, I'm addicted to ruins. I'm headed out of town. I extended my rental car. I'm gonna drive myself all the way to the airport in Chetumal. It's supposed to take an hour and a half. Let's see if that happens. But there was one last ruin that I hadn't seen, and it's right here in Xpujil. So I'm gonna take 10 minutes and go see it. Apparently it's a category 3, which means pretty small, but there is one unique structure. Could be pretty cool. It sure is a beautiful pathway. Some of the people doing the landscaping and the pathwork stuff, they're just doing an excellent job. It's easy to walk on, but you still feel like you're in the forest. Well, my first impressions of this one, Xpujil, is it's a lot more beautiful and more interesting than I thought it was going to be. As you can see, it's got 3 towers, which is very, very rare. I think the 2-tower thing is distinct to this region, but I think that the 3-tower thing is really, really hard to find. This might be the only place with these 3 towers, and it's really big. Let's get an idea of the scale. That was great. That place is very, very well done for the most part. Loved it, great experience, bigger ruins than I thought. The only thing I would say they need to do better, if they're gonna charge the same amount as ruins that have 3 times the pyramids and 3 times the size, they should have a toilet seat and a light in the bathroom. I think that's pretty basic. Also, maybe not run the leaf blower during opening hours when guests are trying to enjoy the nature. You know, just run the leaf blower at 5 or whatever. That's always my preference, that the Vitality is focused on the experience of the people coming to visit, not the convenience of the worker. But I guess people would say that's very American of me. It's just my philosophy. You know, you want to give people the most for their money, focus on the experience of the person who may be only coming here once in their life. Have a magical moment. No, don't cross the road. Okay, they're crossing the road. Oh, there was a little baby. So from the bottom of one of the coolest pyramids I've ever seen, see you next time.